Welcome back. Today is day 4 in our factoring unit. In today's lesson, you will learn how to multiply binomials 3 different ways. I know it's a little overkill, but maybe one way will work better for you than others. All right, let's go. Oh yeah, our do now problem is a which one doesn't belong. I love these. Your job is to find a reason for why each problem A, B, C, D is different from the others. There could be many different answers for each one. So pause the video, take a few minutes to find a reason why each problem doesn't belong, and then resume the video when finished. So let's go over some of the answers to this which one doesn't belong. Remember, there are multiple answers for each one. You may have some that I don't mention in this little video. All right, so for A, first thing, if I'm looking at A doesn't belong because first thing I notice is that 3, 7, and 11 are all odd numbers. So I might say, oh, it's the only one with all odd numbers in there. The other thing I might say, well, also, A is the only one where everything's positive, so each one of my terms is positive. Okay, so again, that would be two reasons why A doesn't belong. What about B? B, when I'm looking at this one, this is the only one where the highest degree is 1. So I would say B doesn't belong because its degree is equal to 1. There's no other one that has a degree of 1. So that means it's a linear function. C, the big one that stands out to me is this one is not written in standard form. So standard form should be written the other way around. So I would say C doesn't belong because it's not in standard form. And then D, I have 2 reasons for D. D, first reason, again, degree would be 3, which means that this is a cubic function. All right, so that'd be the first thing that stands out to me. But the other thing that stands out really is that each term has an x in it. So again, when I'm looking at this is x cubed, this one's x squared, and the next one's just x. None of the other polynomials had an x in every single one of their terms. All right, again, you can have more answers than what I have, but again, that's the ones that I came up with. For this part of the video, we're going to be using algebra tiles, and you're going to see algebra tiles later on in math, and it helps us really visualize the math, or it helps us see the numbers. All right, so I'm going to define them right now, and then later on as we go, you will kind of get to know and work with them. So again, now what you should notice is we have some blue tiles and we have some red tiles, and they have some values in between. Now let's do a little review back from like 3rd or 4th grade. So what was the area of a rectangle? So most of us probably remember area of a rectangle was area equals length times width. So what that means for this blue square, the first square that I'm talking about, so square number 1, this one over here, what is the area? The area is written on the inside, so the area of this is going to be x squared. But then how do we get that area? So the area for this one, we're going to call it x, and the length is going to be x. So what's x times x? If we're to do x times x, it would be x squared. And that's how we get the area of x squared. So again, real easy. It should be easy to see on the third one. So when we look over here on third tile, well, if the area is 1, how do we get an area of 1? Well, length times width would have to be just 1 times 1. 1 times 1 is 1. All right, and then again, on the middle tile here, so when we're looking at this middle tile here, it has an area of x. Well, how did they get that area of an x? Well, one side length is x, and the other one is 1. And then we go, okay, so what's 1 times x? Well, that would just be x. Okay, so when you see these tiles as we go, it's really talking about the area of the tile. And the side lengths will be, that'll help us with the mathematics. All right, again, I like my blue tiles always to be, you could change the colors if you want, but the blue tiles will be the positive tiles, and the red tiles will be the negative tiles. So again, if we need a negative value, we'll just use a red tile. If we want a positive value, we'll use the blue tiles. But again, the dimensions will be the same. So for this one, it would be, well, but it's negative, but x times x will give you the x squared, and the red part means negative. Same thing here, 1 times x, and 1 times 1. Okay? So again, as we go on this math, we will use these tiles to help us visualize the math and see the math, and we're going to use it today. For this lesson, I'll be using videos from an app that I created. Yes, I created my own math app, and it is available on the Google Play Store. Sorry it's not available for iOS because I haven't learned how to code that yet. Now beware, this is my very first app, so some things may not work on all Android devices. It is still a work in progress, but for this lesson, I will be using the app to teach from. Alright, let's see if we can follow along with the app and see if we can learn how do we multiply these binomials. Notice is that the first thing we use these two guys right here. We're gonna place those on the sides of, we have like kind of like two spots here. So on the outsides here, those will be the dimensions of your rectangle. So that means we're gonna have two x's. I'm gonna draw x's with like just a little line. So there's a line for an x. I have two of those, so I'm gonna draw another line for an x, and then I'm just gonna draw a circle for a 1. So that represents 2x plus 1. On the other side, I'm gonna have two x's and then plus 3. So 1, 2, and 3. So that was the first thing that happened in the video. After that, then we started filling out what is the area of that rectangle. So now you should have noticed it happened in 4 parts. So it kind of broke this into like 4 quadrants. You got a quadrant here and you got a quadrant here. So let's take a look here. What is 2x times 2x? Well, 2x times 2x is 4x squared. And what you noticed was that there was 4 squares in that first little quadrant, and that was what happened at once. All right, now the next part. What is 2x times 3? So 2x times 3 should be 6, but what we should notice is that these 6 x's will fit perfectly right here. So that's how I got these. I got this from multiplying the 2 x's on the left and the top 3. All right, now let's do the bottom part. So now we have a 2x times 1, and that means that we're going to have one line here and one line here. All right, and then final in the last little box, it's 3 times 1. So you should notice there's 4 multiplications happening. So 3 times 1, and this should fit perfectly. So there's my answer. And what is the answer then? So what's the answer for this problem? The answer for this problem is, well, how many x squareds do we have? We have 4x squareds. And then how many x's do we have? So count them up. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 on the right and 2 on the bottom. So that means I'm going to have 8 x's. And then how many unit tiles do I have? I have 3. So that's going to be 3. So there's my answer. And let me just highlight these so you know where they got those from. So here's my 4x squared. That's 4x squared. And then over here, this piece and this piece, that's how I got the 8x, because there's 6 x's here and there's 2 x's there. And then the last little box right here, that I have 3. So this is just plus 3. All right, let's try one more and see if we understand this. But again, I like that we can just use pictures and give us the answer. Follow along at number 2. So now 2 is very similar, but now we have negative tiles. So now we're going to have to change our color when we do this problem. So I have 2 x's, and those are positive. So I'm going to go 2x, there's 1x, there's another x. And then I have negative 3. So I'm going to use for negative 3, 1, 2, 3. And remember, that's why we said that negatives were going to be red. All right, also on the other side, my other factor is going to be 2x. So there's 2 as an x. And another one. And this time I have a negative 1, so that means I'm going to have a red one, so negative 1. All right, so now what happens when we multiply these? Again, we should see what's 2x times 2x. Well, this should just make 4x squared, so I better have 4x squareds here. And now what is 2x times 1? So 2x times 1, that's actually a negative 1, is going to be a negative 2. So I'm going to put this in there. So there's a negative 1 and another negative 1. And this really helps out for those of us who don't like negatives. It really helps us see that. So now what about the last part? What is 2 times 2x's times -1? So that's going to be -6. All right. And then last, what is a -1 times a -3? Well, that's just +3. And there we go. And I really like how this one looks. So let's take a look. Again, there's like 4 quadrants here. What does this give us? Well, we know that's 4x squared. And then this piece over here that's a -2x. And this piece over here is a -6x. So that's going to be a total of a -8x. And last, a +3. And there's my answer for this problem. All right, you go ahead and try the next 2 on your own. The next 2 methods are pretty self-explanatory. You will notice they're very similar to the method that we just learned. Be sure to record each method onto your handout and try the practice problems after each method. Thank you for watching this video. To close this lesson, please write a short paragraph comparing and contrasting the 3 methods. Once you are done, complete your classwork using any method that you like. Remember, answers to the classwork will be in a separate video. Thank you and goodbye.